players come down with dementia and then Alzheimer's, and then they're gone.
I'm really wondering if every single football player doesn't have this.
Pittsburgh. For 70 years, they've loved their football team, the Steelers.
This is a tough town. The people here are tough-minded. The way the Steelers played the game meshed perfectly with the people. They loved that hard-hitting, punishing, brutal defense that they played.
They called the defensive line the Steel Curtain.
That just fit perfectly into the way they saw their own lives and what they had to be in order to survive.
And if there was one iconic Steeler, it was number 52, Iron Mike Webster.
Well, Mike Webster exemplified what it was like to be a player in the Steel City and a player in that era that, for me, was the greatest team of all time.
Pittsburgh's going to the Super Bowl!
In the 1970s, Webster anchored 4 Super Bowl championship teams.
Mike was a legend and a hero. He may have been the legend and the hero because here's that blue-collar worker, a center who doesn't get any glory, doesn't catch the touchdown passes, doesn't kick the 52-yard field goal to win a game. He's just in every play.
I just loved watching him play. And Mike's favorite games were the ones that were cold and snowy and frigid, and he could get up there with his short sleeves.
I'm ready to smash somebody.
And the dirtier and muddier it got made things better.
Then, 11 years after he retired, the people of Pittsburgh received some bad news.
At what price glory, the Hall of Fame center Mike Webster died at the age of 50.
He died on Tuesday. He was just 50 years old. He was known as Iron Mike.
He had heart disease.
The news that day would start a chain of events that would threaten to forever change the way Americans see the game of football.
It is hard to find a former pro football player whose body hasn't paid a very high price.
Mike Webster's body was delivered to the Allegheny County Coroner's Office.
Webster ends up in the autopsy room, and the pathologist who's on call that day is this guy, Bennet Omalu.
Omalu parked his car and walked into the office, and he said, "What's going on?" And one of his colleagues said, "It's Mike Webster. He's up in the autopsy room." And Omalu's response was, "Who's Mike Webster?"
And everybody looked at me like, where is he from? Is he from outer space? Who is this guy who doesn't know Mike Webster in Pittsburgh?
He's a Nigerian-born, incredibly well-educated guy, but he doesn't know anything about football.
A doctor, Omalu was also a trained neuropathologist. From the beginning of the autopsy, Dr. Omalu could see the effects of 17 years in the football wars.
Mike looked older than his age. He looked beat up. He looked worn out. He looked drained. If I had not been told his age, I would say he looked like 70.
Omalu started at the feet and worked his way up.
There were cracks running the length of his feet, and they were incredibly painful, and so Webster would duct tape his feet as well to sort of close those cracks and keep them together.
His feet and his legs were definitely, you could just tell, were destroyed. You know, he had veins all over his leg, varicose veins and stuff like that.
There were several herniated discs, a broken vertebrae, torn rotator cuff, and separated shoulder.
His teeth were falling out. His body, he had cellulitis, he had his heart, was getting enlarged.
He was super gluing his teeth back into his head, and he actually made that work. I mean, I think Dad's the only person who could actually, have a medical problem like that and decide to fix it with super glue.
Then there was the matter of Webster's forehead.
Webster's forehead was essentially fixed to its scalp. The skin on his forehead had built up almost a shelf of scar tissue that, from the continuous pounding of his head into other people.
Webster's death certificate made Omalu suspect he may have suffered from a brain disorder.
I was expecting to see a brain with Alzheimer's disease features. So a shriveled, ugly-looking brain. But upon opening his skull, Mike's brain looked normal.
He didn't understand why that would be, but he became more and more curious. That became sort of like his little private mission.
What Omalu could not see was that hidden inside Webster's brain was evidence of a chronic disease.
And that decision would change the NFL, because if Webster's brain had not been examined, I don't honestly think that we would be where we're at today.